charges. Extras Dana Adams found the heated debate over his case is still raging, even among jurors on this, the day after.
I know O.J. Simpson didn't do it.
After 266 days of silent sequestration, Simpson juror Brenda Moran had a lot to say.
I didn't have enough evidence to convince me that he was guilty.
Moran is the first juror to hold a news conference and to combat reports that race was the defining factor in their verdict.
It wasn't a matter of favoritism. It was a matter of evidence.
Was justice served? The debates continued to rage today.
I'm a police officer, and I happen to be black. O.J. is guilty as hell.
The O.J. verdict is the talk of talk radio. People all over America just can't seem to get enough.
O.J.'s going to have to hang out in downtown L.A. now because the white people they're on to him. They know what the deal is.
You know what's funny? You said that if the polls are indeed correct, the majority of people who are of Caucasian persuasion certainly think he's guilty.
I have been beaten and harassed with being called a honky and a cracker and a whitey.
The lights on the phone board at WABC Radio in New York say it all. Non-stop O.J. calls since 6 a.m. Mid-morning host Lionel says he's never seen anything like it.
Even during the Gulf War, you know, I mean, yeah, intensity, but not the amount of people who wanted to say something. People are so angry.
There's no question the verdict has split Americans, but now that division has spilled over to two of TV's favorite talk show hosts, and what they're saying shocked their audiences.
But I would feel that a number of black people in this country believe that most white people think the way Furman does. Most white people. It's true, I'm just telling you.
Not only did Oprah's audience gasp, Kathy Lee Gifford couldn't believe what her friend had said.
That is so upsetting to me, to think that...
A visibly shaken Kathy Lee couldn't contain herself. She delivered her straight talk straight into the camera.
She said that she has many, many African-American friends who all believe that every white person in America feels the same way as Mark Furman. And you're wrong. You're wrong.
For New Yorkers too busy to watch the morning Gab Fest, the headlines at the newsstand shout out the news to those readers who gathered at Sylvia's restaurant in Harlem.
I don't think that it was racially motivated. I think that the evidence that they had spoke for itself.
I never thought he did it from the first place.
A day after the verdict, and the object of the world's attention is still inside this house. O.J. Simpson is spending his first full day as a free man in almost 16 months. Free to watch and listen to the nation's endless reaction to the stunning verdict and the endless debate over racial harmony. Arthel?
All right, thanks a lot, Dana. Response was overwhelming to yesterday's extra opinion poll question about the jury's decision. We asked, do you agree with the O.J. Simpson verdict? Almost 40,000 of you called in, and 27% said yes. 73% of you said no, you don't agree with the verdict.
Faye Resnick stands. Since Simpson's release, she's expressed fear for her life and concern about the Simpson children. Our David Rose found Nicole's best friend believes the verdict sends a message.
He really did well, didn't he? Came through this like a champ. He got rid of Nicole, and now he's the most famous man in the world.
An angry and sarcastic Faye Resnick spent most of the day fielding reporters' calls for her reaction to the verdict. She's still shocked, but not as emotional as she was when she first heard it in our studio.
In violation of Penal Code Section 180.
As Nicole's close friend, Faye says she was embarrassed to be an American when she watched many cheer the verdict.
Do they think this is a football game? You know, did he just make a touchdown? This was real. They don't seem to get it. This is not a movie. This is real life. This man has just gotten away with a crime of double homicide.
Faye now spends most of her time in the fight against domestic violence. So is she concerned about her own safety after spending the last year attacking O.J.?
I think O.J. is going to get revenge on anybody who's told the truth. I think he's capable of anything. I think we've all seen that.
But Faye says she is more concerned about the Simpson children, Sidney and Justin, who have been in the custody of Nicole's family since the trial began. O.J. has said he wants his children back, and that scares her.
Nicole will never rest while those children are with O.J. Before O.J. had done what he did, to Nicole and Ron. She didn't want him having anything to do with the children. She had gotten to the point that she knew that he was unhealthy for them to be around.
Well, what do you think about the future of Sidney and Justin Simpson? In today's extra opinion poll, we want to know, do you think O.J. should get custody of his children? If you say yes, call 1-900-786-9100. If you say no, call 1-900-786-9200. Each call will cost you 50 cents, and you must be 18 or older to vote, and we'll have the results on Extra tomorrow.
No doubt we'll see some strong opinions there.
Yeah, she still has strong opinions, definitely, doesn't she?
All right.
Thank you, David.
Thanks a lot, David. All right, so what does O.J. do now? Celebrity brokers say his image is too tarnished to win back his corporate sponsors like Hertz. But our John Norris shows us why Simpson may still be embraced by Hollywood.
Check. Ready, Frank?
You saw O.J. as an up-and-coming actor in Naked Gun 2.5 and other movies. But now, after 15 months in jail, can he resume his Hollywood career? We went to the stars for the answer.
Actors have survived quite a bit and managed to maintain careers. Sure, he'll have a difficult time, but it won't be as bad because blacklists don't really exist so much anymore.
To me, a prevailing sentiment about his situation is that he is guilty. And I don't know that having that sort of lingering suspicion is easily overlooked. I know I wouldn't want to date the guy.
But Hollywood casting agent Mike Fenton says producers will be interested in O.J.
There are a number of people in our industry who would love to capitalize on O.J., but whether or not the audience will accept him, I think that's a question without an answer.
Movie deals or not, O.J. will probably get very rich very quickly. He will soon consider offers to do a pay-per-view cable TV event or some kind of TV interview. Either could net him at least $2 million.
This will be an interview that everybody has been waiting for, an interview of the century, if you will, following the trial of the century.
Money Magazine's Gary Belsky says that's not all.
You could probably make $3 or $4 million from a book advance and then any royalties, and I think that book will sell pretty well.
O.J.'s already made $1 million from his first book, I Want to Tell You, written from his jail cell. And right now, he needs a lot of money. Before his arrest, he was worth about $10 million, including this $3 to $4 million mansion in L.A.'s fashionable Brentwood section. But he spent about $8 million on legal fees, and attorney John Burris says his legal troubles are not over.
He still can face civil lawsuits for wrongful death for the two families.
Now, those lawsuits have already been filed by the families of Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. Legal experts say the burden of proof in a civil case is much lower than in a criminal case, so if O.J. loses, he could end up paying big money for murders he's been acquitted of.
Add those possible bills to the cost of protecting himself. Safety has become a real concern for O.J. Simpson. He may be out of jail, but he's far from being a free man.
Today, reporters and onlookers crowded outside 360 North Rockingham Drive, hoping to get a glimpse of O.J. Simpson. He was a prisoner in his own home. Mr. Simpson better get used to this kind of attention.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of nuts out there.
Daryl Gates is the former police chief of Los Angeles. He knows that wherever O.J. goes, he's going to need some sort of security blanket.
We do have in this country some people who are zealots and who think that they have to take the justice system in their own hands.
O.J. was driven home yesterday in this white van. As it stopped in traffic, Simpson was approached by a camera crew and bystanders.
Can O.J. Simpson now stroll on down to the corner restaurant and have a burger, or what is he limited to at this point?
Well, he can. It's up to him, I think. You can become a prisoner of your fear.
Is he more than likely going to be faced with verbal confrontation? Is he going to be stalked by somebody? Should he be looking out for snipers, or all of the above?
I think all of the above.
Security expert Dick Rogie says security will cost Simpson as much as $500,000 a year. He says O.J. should stay out of the public eye for 2 years.
If I were O.J. Simpson, I definitely would wear a bulletproof vest.
O.J. has more protection than just this barking dog. Our camera spotted this man equipped with walkie-talkie questioning visitors. For now, Los Angeles Police Department motorcycles are lining Simpson Street while they try to keep the press and the public at bay.
He has to be cautious probably for the rest of his life.
Trouble cropped up last night when about 50 people gathered outside O.J.'s home shouting, "Shame, shame," along with other protests. Police had to quiet the demonstration.
O.J. Simpson's dream team is becoming a nightmare, even though they won the case. Extras Libby Weaver found Robert Shapiro, Johnny Cochran, and F. Lee Bailey engaged in a bitter war of words.
It was the party of the year for what they call the trial of the century. O.J. Simpson's defense lawyers posed for victory pictures and celebrated the night away at a Hollywood restaurant last night. But one member of the dream team was out on his own and sounding an alarm. After showing solidarity in yesterday's news conference after the verdict, Robert Shapiro told ABC News, quote, "Not only did we play the race card, we dealt it from the bottom of the deck." And he blames Johnny Cochran, saying, quote, "Cochran believes that everything in America is related to race. I do not."
He's a troubled man, obviously.
Cochran was ready to fight back. First thing this morning on NBC's Today Show. We asked legal analyst Royal Oakes to explain this post-trial tribulation.
This is the greatest day of all of our lives, and he makes these kind of statements.
Well, Royal, obviously, we didn't realize just how many problems there were. Why today? What's your reaction to all of this?
It's amazing. It's one thing to bail out of a sinking ship, but this rocket ship just landed on the moon.
Shapiro also said he would never talk with F. Lee Bailey again, and Oakes knows why.
I think it was a combination of a bruised ego. Shapiro was deposed as leader of the pack in the trial of the century.
It's no secret that Shapiro was pushed aside in this power struggle. He questioned only a few witnesses during the 9-month trial. Psychiatrist Joe Harasti says the courtroom just wasn't big enough for the three of them.
I think it's predictable when you get three huge egos into the same room, when there's no clear-cut chain of command, that there's going to be some infighting until someone establishes himself as the person in charge, and actually Johnny Cochran did just that.
But Los Angeles radio talk show host Michael Jackson says he talked to Shapiro the night after Cochran delivered his infamous Hitler speech. He says Shapiro's reaction wasn't about ego, but ethics.
He was angry. Cochran's gone over the effing top. He's really blown it.
Now, one other rift among the defense lawyers concerned O.J.'s testifying. Shapiro said both Bailey and Cochran wanted their client to take the stand, but Shapiro was dead set against it. Is this O.J.'s new home? Next, the secrets of this Florida town and why Simpson may come here to get away from it all.
The verdict on the verdict. Top talker Jenny Jones and a reunion of dismissed jurors.
Eye on the trial, the man whose pictures tell the real story, as we continue coverage of O.J. after the verdict.
We'll be back.
Ahead, O.J.'s next move. Will he leave L.A. for this Florida paradise? Plus, Jenny Jones and the showdown of the O.J. jurors and the guy who will miss the trial the most.
O.J. mania hit high gear in Los Angeles this week.
But now O.J. may be leaving town. Extra has uncovered the secret hideaway that the Simpson family could call home. It's in the town of Manalapan, Florida, a place where O.J. hopes to find peace and quiet. O.J. Simpson is going to the big house. This big house. Though it's no mansion, the buzz along the beach has it Simpson is moving his family to this waterfront home on South Florida's Gold Coast. Oddly, O.J. didn't pay a dime for the $1,175,000 estate. His lawyer, F. Lee Bailey, did. Real estate columnist Ava Vandewater wrote about it in the Palm Beach Post.
Well, I think F. Lee Bailey helped things along a little bit when he said that O.J. was going to be house hunting.
But if O.J. does move to this millionaire's retreat, he'll have everything he wants. The walled grounds offer extra security. It's close to schools for Simpson's two children, Sydney and Justin. There are plenty of golf courses nearby.
But the people who live there, they're all very wealthy, and they're very quiet. It's not loud, flashy money.
Manalapan is a water lover's paradise, sandwiched between the Atlantic Ocean and the Intercoastal Waterway. Fewer than 2,000 people live here, and 3 of them are billionaires. But you can't buy the kind of excitement O.J. is creating in Manalapan.
I'd say he'd be welcome, as long as he keeps it low-key.
You know, I don't know if it would be the happiest day in the history of Manalapan, to tell you the truth, because people here value their privacy, and that's about it.
Now, relocating to Florida would put O.J. closer to his girlfriend, Paula Barbieri, who lives near Tampa. New York and Cabo San Lucas, Mexico have also been mentioned as possible destinations for the Simpsons.
Tabloid TV shows are reportedly offering Simpson jurors as much as $150,000 to tell their story, but most have so far declined to talk. However, 4 former members of the jury reunited today to discuss their ordeal.
Did you see him kill them?
An emotional scene at today's taping of the Jenny Jones show in Chicago. For the first time, 4 former Simpson jurors reconvened. The topic, of course, the not guilty verdict. They were joined by the former manager of Mezzaluna Restaurant, where Ron Goldman worked, and the trainer from O.J.'s fitness video.
Because O.J. Simpson.
Although all 4 ex-jurors, Willie Craven, Tracy Hampton, Michael Knox, and Jeanette Harris, were removed from the case long before deliberations, the one-time insiders denied the final decision was a rush to judgment.
If Mark Furman wasn't even in the trial, Mr. Simpson would have still been acquitted.
However, trainer Richard Walsh, who testified at the trial, disagreed.
First of all, what I thought is, I don't know if the system works anymore. Because like everybody else.
During the show, which will air tomorrow, audience members were segregated into groups depending on how they felt about the verdict. They split largely along racial lines.
I also believe that O.J. is guilty, and let me tell you why. The evidence presented during the trial, to me, was more than enough to convict him.
Mark Furman just blew the whole case out the water. Let's face it. He blew him out the water.
Even after the show concluded, the guests continued their closing arguments backstage.
I think people just wanted O.J. to get hung, that's all. He was a black man married to a white woman, and they wanted him. They didn't care whether he was innocent or not. He was black, and he was married to a white woman, so they wanted him hung.
I'd say stand up and be a man and admit your guilt. You were out of control. You had to be a control freak. You lost your mind, and this is what I did. If you're such a hero, stand up and admit to it.
90% of the TVs in America were tuned in when the verdict was read yesterday, making it one of the most watched events in television history. News organizations fought for the post-verdict interviews, and ABC's Barbara Walters was the big winner, grabbing Kato Kalin, Robert Shapiro, and Robert Kardashian. Diane Sawyer corralled the Brown family for tonight's primetime live on ABC, but Geraldo Rivera had the Browns first. They appeared on his CNBC show just after the verdict.
Every day, I had to prove myself.
And he came through, the man who shot 18,000 pictures at the Simpson trial. His best stuff next.
Don't touch that dial.
Christopher Darden, deep in thought. Mark Furman on the stand. The defense team meeting the media. All of these Simpson trial moments came from one man.
His private photos document the court case, but also provide lasting images of an unforgettable event.
I am going to miss the people.
An emotional Haywood Galbraith fought back tears as he talked about missing the people he came to know over the last 15 months of the O.J. Simpson double murder case. But the photographer says he was glad to have been there.
And I got to be a part of what will go down in history as probably the biggest double murder trial of all time.
Haywood was the official still photographer inside and out of the courtroom. Galbraith is poring over dozens of negatives in his Los Angeles office. He snapped at least 18,000 pictures of the Simpson case, including Kato Kalin on the stand, the emotional testimony by Denise Brown, and this incredible shot of the demonstration of the slash of Nicole Brown's neck. Haywood, who owns his own news photo agency, was the representative for the African-American press, says he had to overcome some obstacles during the trial.
Every day, I had to prove myself.
He's now compiling all of the trial photos into this book entitled The O.J. Simpson Murder Trial, the complete photo journal of the trial of the century. And now that it's over, Haywood says getting back to normal won't be too hard.
There will be withdrawals. I won't miss not having to get up every morning and go down to the courthouse and face what I had to face.
What an interesting assignment.
He's very talented, too.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, Haywood was originally shut out of the photo pool.
But Judge Lance Ito created a position for him, enabling him to supply the African-American press with coverage. In return, Haywood has funded 4 minority photojournalism scholarships in Ito's name.
And once again, here's today's extra opinion poll. Do you think O.J. should get custody of his children? If you say yes, call 1-900-786-9100. If you say no, call 1-900-786-9200. You must be 18 or older, and each call will cost you 50 cents, and we will have the results for you tomorrow on Extra.
Also tomorrow, we'll have all of the other developments in the Simpson story.
We'll talk to you later.